I love it. Hello. It's so good. All right, we are live. We are live. We are live. We are live. I love it. Hello. All right, there you go. I'm going to go back. Hi, everyone. Okay, great. So we are live streaming on YouTube. I am doing what you call a Wednesday workshop, the recap from the Good Death Seminar series, which, by the way, has been incredible. All the people that have joined, all of the questions, the response from it has been amazing. So these are 12 individual seminars that are given live on Zoom. They're given every other week. The next one is on the 30th, so next Wednesday. In between them, what I'd like to do in the weeks that we don't have the seminar, I'd like to come on and I'd like to offer you all an opportunity to ask questions. If you couldn't make it live, I'd like to do a recap. I'm going to flip back into my YouTube screen for a minute, and I want to see if I can do something here so that I can answer questions live if you have them. So I want to see if this is a possibility that I can turn off my sound and not have it interfere. If you couldn't make it live, I'd like to do, okay, I'm muting myself because I do want to have the opportunity to answer any of your questions live. If you are here live and you have a question about the seminar series, I am going to recap the first two seminars. So if you missed them, if you have any questions, but I also want to say this to you. Hey, thank you for watching. If you are watching right now, if you could just in the chat so I can see how it works, just say hello if that's possible. Can you type in hello because we are live and I want to really get to hone in the skills of being able to answer your questions live. It should be a no-brainer. For those of you joining, I want to thank you for being here, but I want to see if you put in just a live hello that I get that. And so that way I can know how to serve you best and to answer your questions. So if you ask, live chat, let's see, all messages are visible. Okay, so that's what I'm going to put on. So if you're there, so I'm going to write something back to you because I want to see if I can also put links in for things or different things in this chat. Which actually, maybe I'm going to try. No, I don't think I can put a link in there or an upload. Let me just see. Engage with your audience. Start a Q&A, close. Okay, great. So obviously, I'm going to send you hearts because obviously I'm testing this right now. And of course, I'd like to see if we can put links in for the next one. That would probably be really smart to help with allowing people to sign up for the next Good Death Seminar series. So let me just see if I don't, I am going in to get my link for you and I want to see if that goes in live. Here we are. So this should be it. So I want to see if I put that in the chat for you. So if you are somebody here, and I have to tell you that if there's one, I think I closed out my window. That's okay. If there is one event that I feel like is the most important for you to be coming to, it is, and I hope I didn't just mess this up. Nope, I think it's good. All right, if there's one event that I want you to know to come to, I think that the next one about the advanced directives is critically important. So what I want to do is get back to the screen, if it is at all possible, to get to my YouTube screen to see your questions. So here you go. All right. So I want to thank you for being on this test with me because we are doing it. And then what I'm going to do is put this in the chat. I want to put the link to the next seminar series and see if you can all, if that goes to you and you can all get that. Now, why aren't I seeing that? Okay. Open panel. See if that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick recap, everyone, of the first two. Now, I sent something through the chat. I don't know if you got that. If you got that, if you could just give me an indication, a thumbs up, a heart emoji. I'm throwing heart emojis up. That's what I do. Just so I can see the interaction of how we are. I want to be able to answer live questions. So, So if somebody could, if you're there and you just want to put a hello. Anyway, okay, so let's get going. And this is really what I wanted to talk to you about today. I want to recap the first two seminar series. They are done every other Wednesday. It is it is called the Good Death Seminar Series. They are amazing. Why is this important and why am I doing this? Because of my background, because I am a former hospice and oncology nurse. Most people are not having a good end of life, and it's this education that changes everything for them. So it is a live on Zoom every other Wednesday. The next one is on the 30th. You get a workbook with each one of them. You get a workbook with each one of them. Now, let me just see something. I want to make sure that we are live and I'm not seeing what I'm holding up. So maybe there's a little delay there. You have a live workbook with each one of them. And I'm just going to see what I'm sharing there. A heart emoji. I'm throwing heart emojis up. That's what I do. Just so I can see the interaction of how I am trying to make sure that we are still live on here, but I'm not seeing myself in real time. And I understand. Okay. I think it's just a little delayed on there, which is great. And that's fine. As long as I can see holding up the book. Seminar series. They are done every other Wednesday. It is it is called. Okay. Here we go. So this is what I want to share with you. And let's just go back to here. I don't see anything in the chat, but I will continue to watch out for that because I want to be able to answer questions live. Now, here we are. You've got a workbook with each one of the live events. The live events are on Zoom. So they're on Zoom. It is live. It's not recorded. There's going to be a presentation. There's going to be group discussions, and there's going to be live Q&A at the end. These are wonderful, wonderful seminars. So if you are interested in learning about end of life, each seminar stands alone. So there's 12 in total. We've done 2 already. So I want to recap the 2 so that if you are somebody who wants to jump in, and by the way, you can come to one, you can come to all of them. They stand alone. But, and I was deciding whether to say the statement, but I feel like I want to say this statement. If you only come to one of them, next week is the one to come to. Why? Because it's about advanced directives. It's about advanced care planning. It's about understanding if advanced directives are actually legal binding documents. And you're going to be surprised at the answer to that, I promise you. However, I'm always going to give you tools and empowerment, how to, not a workaround, but how to, it's almost like the secret weapons, the magic pearls that we know within the system to make sure that your wishes that you choose are honored and legal. And that changes everything. So if there's one thing I can say to you is that with all of the experience that I've had working in this space, and it has been vast, the most beautiful end of lives, the ones with the good deaths, which by the way, each and every one of us will experience this with ourselves, with our loved ones. It has been from people who planned ahead, who thought about what they wanted and what they didn't want at the end of life, what things mean, what they need, what choices they need to make ahead of time, sharing that with their families, making sure, again, that it's in a legal order that has to be followed by everyone. So if there's one seminar that you should come to, if you're only picking one, I hope you come to many. It's next week. It's on the 30th. It's live. I put the link in your chat. So I put that live link in your chat. If you don't see it, I'm going to flip back to that page. If you don't see that link in your chat for whatever reason here on this live, I'll put it in the show notes down here when I'm done. But you can also go to doulagivers.com. I want you to know how important this is, but it's going to be, they're about 75 minutes. They're live. So you're going to see other people. It's going to be great. They're really fun. Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. You get a workbook. You get a workbook with each one of these courses. And the workbook itself is incredible. These are $97 seminars. They are offered right now for free. Come to them. share with other people. This is life-changing information. And that's why we want to give it for free, because we really want to support you and your families to have the tools that you need to have a good end of life. So before next week is going to be all about advanced directives. Are they legally binding? You're going to be surprised at the answer. And how do you make them a legal order? So we're going to talk to you about that. And it's really great. And there's lots of good resources. Now, the first two seminars, the first one was right off the bat, we talked about how death became the #1 fear in the world. Think about that. Something that we're all going to go through. By the way, something that the human race has been doing for thousands of years. We're all going to experience that end of life. How in the world did it become the #1 fear? Well, I've got your answers, and they're really, really exciting. And we're going to talk about different cultures, and we're going to talk about what happened over the last 100 years in medicine in that webinar. We really demystify the fear bubble around death to bring it back to the sacred natural experience it was meant to be. So that was seminar 1. Seminar 2 last week was talking about hospice and the origins of hospice, how it started. And I'll give you a little recap on that. It started in 1967 in England by Dame Cicely Saunders, which, by the way, and I had to do some verification and fact checking, she was a nurse, she was a social worker, and she was a doctor. Like, wow. And she also knew holistic comfort measures. Palliative care should be for end-of-life patients, not doctors trying to reverse the disease to the very end, which it's a shame that we still see that today. But there's multiple reasons for that. There's no judgment here. So Dame Cicely Saunders started the first hospice in England called Christopher's Hospice in London. And it was focused on holistic care and the 4 bodies of energy, what I call, and I'm sure she does too, as far as we're holistic beings, and tight symptom management and the emotional component at end of life. You know, the emotional component at end of life can be so intense sometimes for people that it can present as physical pain. And then we talked about it coming to the United States. Her prototype started a global movement of hospice. But how it changed. How and when did the hospice model that was originally made by Cicely Saunders change? And it changed when it became, in the United States, a Medicare benefit payout. And that was 1987 or 1984. So once the government said, we're going to reimburse through insurance systems the payment for hospice, everything changed with it, because now everyone knew if they put a hospice together, they are guaranteed payment by the government. No longer is it, can the people pay, or depending on grants and volunteers, because it was really a nonprofit entity when it began. Now everyone was guaranteed payment, and they were guaranteed what they were going to get paid. And it started to take on, unfortunately, like a for-profit type of movement within it. And what happens is when you turn something into for profit, the goal is looking always at the bottom line of profits. And what happens when you focus on profits is that we stop focusing on the patient and the family. That this becomes the goal, not this is the goal. And I'll always say, the minute we put a dollar amount and a time limit on end of life, we're doing something wrong. So we just lost our way there. But right now we are still in that system, and that's not going to change, and that's okay. But we have to know realistically, what do families and patients need to know to fill the hospice gap, to fill in what's not being supplied. And it's really time and education. Well, the time provides the educational platform. And so we've got to get education out to patients, to families, to doulas, to doula givers that can go and guide families like that birthing doula, but for end of life. And so a whole industry was made, a whole movement was made with the Death Doula movement. And it's an amazing story, right? It's born out of this organic need to fill that gap, to fill that space that is not being filled in mainstream. And the upsetting thing is fear is #1. So people don't know they don't plan on it. They don't know what hospice means. They don't know what they offer, what they don't offer, until they get there. And when they get there, it is too late, because when you realize that a hospice nurse is only coming to your home on average 1 hour once a week, to assess the person. What about all that other time? The family does 98% of the hands-on care for somebody that is at the end of life, even with hospice care on board. So it's really like thinking of hospice as that consultant teaching the family how to do the care, but there's a breakdown because there's not enough time. If myself as a hospice nurse was there for 1 hour once a week, I mean, it just, every time I say that and I think about my experiences, I get so upset because it's tragic. It can't work. The family's full of fear. This person is very late coming on hospice services was another element to this. And I'm supposed to teach them how to thoroughly care their person at the end of life when they're petrified, when I only have an hour. It just is a broken system. It doesn't work. We need to help fill it. So the doula giver, the death doula, helps not only the patient and the family, but the hospice team as well. But tons of free education so that you have a roadmap. You want to make a roadmap for yourself when we age and get to the end of life. Why? Because there's lots of challenges in this space. We're living so very long now, and dying is expensive and living is expensive. And you need to know your options. You need to find them out ahead of time. You need to think about what quality of life is for you. You want to know what hospice does and what they don't do so you can have things in place to fill that gap so you can have the best end of life possible. Because I want to tell you this, you can. I promise you. I have been privileged and honored to be with over 1,000 people at the end of life. I have seen some of the most incredible, beautiful end of life experiences. And one of the main reasons that it was, I'll give you two main reasons. Number one, planning ahead. The people had planned ahead. They had known that end of life would one day be a part of their journey. So they lived a very different level of interactive awareness, perception every day because they knew the journey would be over. They had a blueprint. Even though we know that it doesn't always go the way that we planned, at least we have a roadmap. At least there's something that my family can go by, what I want or not want. And the second part of that really good end of life is that the people that utilize the power of forgiveness. At the end of life, everyone's stuff bubbles to the top. And I want to tell you what I feel like is happening. We're all 4 bodies of energy, holistic beings, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. At the end of life, everything wants to be resolved and worked out. And everyone's stuff that we've pushed down bubbles to the top, and forgiveness is the tool. All roads lead to it. Guilt, game, regret, pain, anger, all of it, whatever it is, finding that forgiveness. And we teach this to our families and to our doulas as practitioners. Helping people find forgiveness of themselves and forgiveness of others has led to the most incredibly beautiful end of lives. And we'll share with you what people say at the end of life about forgiveness and about no judgment and about everything was meant for a learning opportunity for their evolution of their soul growth. It's incredibly beautiful. The other thing I want to share with you is that I've worked with people all over the world, different cultures and religions. And at the end of life, everyone is saying the same things. They're all talking about the same things. And I call these the universal laws. So all of this is packed into your seminar series. There are 12 different seminars. The next one is live next week on Wednesday. So the first one was about fear of death. How did we get there? And talking about that death really and always was and is a sacred natural experience that should not be feared. Bringing it back into that awareness, talking about how we lost our way and it became fearful. The second webinar last week, seminar, was about the hospice gap and how hospice changed. And right now we need to know what we have and what we don't have so that families can be prepared for when they're called to care for somebody they love at the end of life. And hopefully that's ahead of time. And next week is going to be on the 30th. It's going to be about advanced directives, which is like my favorite because I know the difference that the advanced directive makes. So please join us. 75 minutes of your time. It'll change your life and it'll change the life of your loved ones because all of us will be called to care for somebody at the end of life and having our own end of lives, and having that blueprint, that roadmap changes that whole trajectory. So I am going to pop off our live here. I just want to see, If anything came in the chat, and I wonder if there's a way that I'm not enabling the chat, but I'm going to go back and see. So if anyone can write in the chat, I love that. And thank you so much for that. What I'm going to do right after this is I'm going to put in the show notes. So if you want to go back, right at the top, I'll put in the link for next week's Zoom seminar. There are no replays, space is limited. So if you want to come, please make your reservation, grab your seat, claim that spot. And I guess that's about it for you all. I want to thank you so much. This is awesome. So I'll see if there's any messages in the chat after, but we wanted to come on here, give you that Wednesday workshop and update, which I think I'll be doing on a continuous basis on YouTube. So you can expect me in the week after the webinar to come back up to talk about the webinar we did and to answer any questions that you have. Love you guys so very much. I'm going to pop off, put your link in here. I'll see you in the webinar on Wednesday. Have a beautiful rest of your day, everybody.